Hi, everyone,
I hope you are all doing well.
and that everything is good for you.
Today, we begin our journey into the history of the Phoenicians, a remarkable ancient people who left behind a legacy of trade, navigation, and invention that shaped the Mediterranean world. The Phoenicians were not a single empire, with one king or one capital. Instead, they were a network of coastal city-states, located mostly along the eastern Mediterranean, in the area of today's Lebanon, coastal Syria, and parts of northern Israel and Palestine. Major Phoenician cities included Tyre, Sidon, Byblos, and Arwad. Each city had its own ruler, but they shared culture, language, and above all, their skill in the sea. The name Phoenician itself comes from a Greek word, phoenix, meaning purple, a reference to the rich purple dye they famously produced from murex sea snails. This dye was so rare and expensive that it became a symbol of royalty, power, and prestige. But the Phoenicians were more than dye makers. They were among the greatest sailors and merchants of the ancient world. They established vast trade routes,
Stretching across the Mediterranean.
and beyond, reaching as far as North Africa, Spain, and possibly Britain. Through these networks, they spread goods, ideas, and innovations from one land to another, becoming true cultural connectors between ancient civilizations. One of their greatest achievements was the development of a writing system that later influenced the alphabets of Greece, Rome, and eventually the modern world. The Phoenicians did not leave behind grand pyramids or giant temples, but their influence traveled through seas.
Languages and commerce.
They shaped how trade, navigation, and written communication developed in human history. Before we move to our today, I want to say that this channel is user-friendly. No offensive content.
No misinformation.
We explain things with respect, curiosity, and authenticity. In the next part, we will continue exploring their society, religion, and seafaring skill to understand how a small group of coastal cities turned into the masters of the Mediterranean. The Phoenicians lived in a land that was both small in size, yet rich in opportunity. Their homeland stretched along the narrow strip of the Levantine coast, where mountains met the sea. Because farmland was limited, they could not build great empires based on agriculture. Instead, they looked outward, towards the Mediterranean, making the sea their true source of wealth. They became expert shipbuilders. Archaeological findings
Show their ships were crafted
with advanced techniques for both speed and durability. Phoenician galleys were long, sleek, and often had 2 rows of oars. These designs made them highly maneuverable in storms and swift in long voyages. With these ships, they carried goods across the sea. They traded cedar wood from Lebanon, which was prized in Egypt and Mesopotamia, glassware from Sidon,
finely crafted metalwork, and their famous purple-dyed textiles.
In return, they brought back gold, silver, ivory, and exotic items from lands far away. They did not just trade goods, they also carried knowledge, myths, art styles, and technologies from one culture to another.
One fascinating fact
Is their reputation as navigators. Ancient writers claimed that Phoenician sailors could read the stars so well. They used the North Star as their guide across open waters. In fact, some historians believe the term Phoenician star was once used to describe it. Beyond sailing, they were also skilled colonizers. Unlike empires that expanded by conquest, Phoenician city-states established trading colonies overseas. These were not military outposts, but ports designed for commerce. Their most famous colony was Carthage, founded by settlers from Tyre around the 9th century BC. Carthage later grew into a powerful city of its own, rivaling even Rome in later centuries. But before Carthage rose, the Phoenicians had already spread across Cyprus, Malta, Sicily, North Africa, and Spain. Through these settlements, They created one of the earliest true maritime networks in history. What made them unique was their ability to remain neutral and adaptive. Instead of building empires through war, they built influence through commerce and connection. In this way, the Phoenicians became the lifeline
of Mediterranean trade.
Their ships carried not just goods, but the very spirit of cultural exchange. The Phoenicians were not only traders and sailors, they were also carriers of culture, craftsmanship, and religious traditions. Each Phoenician city-state had its own local deities, but their many gods and goddesses were worshipped across the region. One of the most important was Baal, often linked to fertility
and storms.
Another was Astarte, goddess of love and war, who later influenced Greek ideas
about Aphrodite.
Their religion was deeply connected to nature and the sea. Temples were built on high places or near harbours, and offerings were made to ensure safe voyages. Archaeological evidence shows that rituals included animal sacrifices, fine goods, and inscriptions dedicated to the gods. But religion was not the only influence. They passed on, perhaps their greatest gift to the world was their alphabet. Earlier scripts, like Egyptian hieroglyphs or Mesopotamian cuneiform, were complex and used hundreds of symbols. The Phoenicians simplified this system. They developed a set of symbols to represent sounds rather than whole words or ideas. This phonetic alphabet had about 22 characters, each standing for a consonant sound. It was far easier to learn and to use for trade records and communication. Greek traders encountered it,
adopted it,
and added vowels. From there it influenced Latin, which shaped the writing systems used in Europe
and ultimately
the letters we use today. In this way, a system created for practical purposes by Phoenician merchants became one of humanity's most important tools, a foundation of modern literacy. Beyond writing, the Phoenicians also advanced the art of glass-making. Sidon became famous for producing transparent, delicate glassware, a product that spread widely through their trade. They were also skilled in metalwork, carving ivory, and producing intricate jewelry. These items were not just for luxury, but also symbols of cultural exchange, as Phoenician art mixed Egyptian, Mesopotamian,
and local Levantine styles.
Their society itself was urban and vibrant.
Markets filled with traders.
Shipyards lined the harbours, and workshops crafted goods destined for distant lands. Yet despite their reach, Phoenician city-states remained independent,
often competing with one another,
sometimes cooperating when facing outside threats. It was this combination of independence, maritime mastery, and adaptability that allowed their culture to flourish for centuries. The Phoenicians reached their height between 1200 and 800 BCE, but like many ancient cultures, they eventually faced challenges from stronger powers around them. Their strategic coastal cities became targets for expansionist empires. The Assyrians demanded tribute. Later, the Babylonians besieged Tyre. The Persians absorbed Phoenician ports into their empire, yet still relied on Phoenician fleets for naval power. Even under foreign rule, their skills remained valuable. When the Persians expanded west, Phoenician ships carried their armies. When Alexander the Great sought control of the coast, Tyre resisted fiercely, forcing him to build a massive causeway to capture the island city. Meanwhile, in the west, their colony of Carthage rose to prominence. Founded by settlers from Tyre, Carthage became wealthy and powerful, controlling trade in North Africa, Spain, and beyond. Carthage's influence grew so great that it clashed with Rome in the famous Punic Wars. Although this was centuries after Phoenicia's peak, it shows how the legacy of these seafaring people continued to shape world history. Culturally, the Phoenicians left no single empire, but they left something arguably greater: connections. They linked Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, North Africa, and Europe. They carried not just goods, but alphabets, technologies, religious ideas, and artistic traditions.
Even today,
Their influence can be seen in the letters we write, the glass we use, and the idea that trade can bind cultures together without the need for conquest. The Phoenicians remind us that history is not only shaped by warriors and kings, but also by sailors, traders,
and craftsmen,
who quietly changed the course of civilization. All the information we provide comes from verified historical sources, including books, records, and archaeology. For this video, sources include Glenn E. Marco, Phoenicians, University of California Press, 2000. Josephine Quinn, In Search of the Phoenicians, Princeton University Press, 2018. Sabatino Moscati, The World of the Phoenicians, Phoenix Press, 2001. Archaeological findings from Byblos, Tyre, and Sidon, records from Greek and Roman historians such as Herodotus and Strabo. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Thrones of Knowledge. And don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified on time. Suggest our next topic in the comments to help make our journey even better.